Hello everyone and welcome to once again Pauline's DIY remodeling. In my last video I talked about and showed you the design and sketch of my closet, especially when I did the upper cabinets, but you can kind of see it coming together. Now in this video I show you how I actually built the middle tall cabinets and the upper cabinets and show you how the whole thing came together. So I'll walk you through what I did. All my projects begin with cutting down sheet goods. For this build, I have used red oak 3/4 inch plywood. It comes in sheets of 8 feet by 4, and that's what I use for the entire build. All my sheets were ripped using my Festool track saw, which is really handy because in my small garage workshop, I really don't have a lot of room to maneuver. And so being able to cut down sheet goods into smaller, manageable and easier to store pieces really saves me a lot of time, and just it helps me with the logistics of working out how to batch my jobs. So that's what I like to do, and you can see my Festool track right there. Love this tool. It's very accurate, very powerful saw. I wish I could just refit my entire workshop with Festool tools, but one day that will happen. Once I ripped up all my sheets, I like to rip them up into the side panels. For the side panels for the middle cabinets were 53 inches long, so I was able to rip that to 53 inches long, and each panel is 24 inches deep. So what I did was, because the sheet goods come in just a little over 48, maybe 48 and a 16, then you get that roughish factory finish. I kind of just rip them into two, and then I check for square, and I know that rough end will be hidden in the back, and I can use the front freshly cut edge to do my face frame. So here I've already cut in, as you can see, the slots in the back. These are routed about exactly 3/4 of an inch from the edge, and this is where my 1/4 inch plywood backing piece comes in. So the combination of that three quarters of an inch and the 1/4 inch slot means that my cabinet depth is now 23, because that takes away an entire inch, which is perfect because most clothes hangers for like grown-ups, the largest I've seen, even for suits and outer jackets, I haven't seen anything more than 22 inches. And so this leaves a lot of room to have something hang in the back without necessarily touching the cabinet, and also sticking out at the front outside of the cabinet, because I really hate when I see closets where the shoulders of clothing is hanging out of the cabinet. So this kind of gives me a lot of depth, and I really like that. And as you can see right there, I had already applied I use a dry wax finish for all the sheets. And I like to do that before I do any build, because it just makes it easier for me. Previously, when I've done cabinetry, I've painted after I finished, and it was a bit of a pain, and maybe I need to learn how to use a sprayer and make it easier for me. So that's something I can consider for future projects. But I use a hard wax finish for this time. And on this picture here, you can see the larger dado in the back, or it could be in the front for the for the shorter cabinets above. This was routed for my LED aluminum channel. I measured at about 13 sixteenths in terms of width. So that was an unusual router bit to buy, but I got it, and I was able to make that groove so that my aluminum channels sit nice and snug in there. So precision was very important for this build for me. Again, you can see another piece where I have the dados, the two dados for the LED channel together with the one for the backing, side to side. The spacing between those two, I've kept it at a constant 2 inches, and that will have uniformity all around the closet, and everything shows up really well when the lights are lit. This picture here shows one of the corner cabinets, which I'll never do again in this size and dimension as one piece, because it was just so bulky to carry. But again, this just shows you the complexity of, at least to me, as a novice woodworker, just the complexity of making measurements, the complexity of using a router, and being clever in terms of how to do stop dados. And it looks like I still haven't mastered those because as you can see from the bottom left hand corner, I had to route the dado all the way to the edge of the panel and then get clever in terms of cutting another piece to cover up that dado because I didn't want it to show. So again, carpentry for me is something that I'm constantly learning new things. Stop dados is going to be the next thing I learn. But again, matching grain and direction of the grain and making sure everything lines up is a lot of things I had to think of. And again, for some people, this might be an easy thing to do. For me, it was a little complicated because I realized that in trying to be a perfectionist, I was making the job even more complicated than it needed to be. But then again, that's the experience I gained, and then maybe next time it will get easier, I hope. But that's where I was at that point. In this clip here, I show you how I made my joinery. I have previously used pocket holes for screwing cabinet pieces together, but this time I chose to use straight screws just into the cabinet just because these pieces were too bulky to be held on my Craig jig for making pocket holes. I used an Amana drill bit to countersink my screws so that they don't stick out outside of the panel and make it harder to join the cabinets together. And that's what I used. All my cabinet holes are drilled 3/8 of an inch from the edge, and I use my ruler to make sure that I put a pencil line there and mark where I want to put my screws in. Again, this is some of the things that make carpentry complicated because you don't want to have your screws ripped through and show on the edge of a sheet of plywood. So precision for me comes in terms of knowing what is the thickness of that piece and where do I want the screw to lie. So again, I kind of measure and measure again, and that takes time. I use my woodworking clamps to hold the pieces together, and it actually acts like a third and fourth set of hands. But for the upper cabinets, they were so bulky and just ungainly that I had to use my nail gun just to put a couple of brad nails in just for stability, and then I use my Sparks 2-inch screws to join the cabinet pieces together. And this really worked out really well for me. Of course, it's really hard to shoot a video when you're holding your phone with one hand and at the same time you're trying to use your drill and screw your wood screws in. But it worked out really well and everything came out just exactly as I wanted. The precision really paid off for me because I didn't want to have to use an edge trimmer, an edge router bit to kind of finish off the edges. So I really wanted everything nice and flush, and I managed to achieve that. So I was very happy about that. This here shows you just the exact positioning of the screws when I was screwing them in. The good thing with the Spark screws is they come with a drill bit inside the box for those who've never used them before. So I like that because I don't need to keep looking for what drill bit fits what. So I like to buy those. And that worked out really well. Again, you can see my pencil mark. That's exactly 3/8 of an inch from the edge, ensuring that my screws are going to land squarely in the middle of the 3/4 inch plywood board that I'm working with. So that worked out really well for me. This clip here also shows you what I mean by precision. For those of you who are new to woodworking like myself, there is a really huge satisfaction in seeing your dados line up, which means your measurements were done correctly and all your tools were dialed in correctly, which sometimes is a pain to do when you're new at this. And so for me, when my dados where the backing piece for the cabinets, a 1/4 inch plywood comes in, when I see those dados line up correctly, it is very, very satisfying to see because it takes me a long time to get the stuff in as part of my wood prep. So that was one of the highs of doing this closet. Believe it or not, it's actually just getting my dados to line up is more satisfying sometimes than finishing the cabinet. But, that's just me. And then in this one, I show you how I fit my LED aluminum channels. The LED lights I chose from Flexfire LEDs. Love that company. Their products are superior, a little bit more pricey, but again, you get what you pay for. These extruded channels are recessed in terms of installation, and you can get ones that are surface mounted, but I like the recessed ones because I didn't want to have to screw anything in. And when I dadoed when I routed that channel, that dado, they fit very snugly, and I was very happy about that. But again, you have to measure precisely, you have to dial in your tools correctly. And the good thing with these channels is aluminum is a very soft metal, and you can cut them to whatever size you want. I've had people say they've used I don't know, I think people have used like a hacksaw or something. I use my miter saw for this, and it cut very well. Just remember to use your eye protection, because those aluminum bits, they jump off of that thing, and they fly quite far, and they get really hot sometimes. So wear your protection, and you're going to be fine. And just make sure that you sand off the end that got cut, because sometimes the shards kind of stick to the metal, and you don't want them to rip your LED wires or even the lights themselves, the strips. So easy pencil mark on them, very easy to do. And then you cut them, and they fit the size. And here I was checking to make sure that the piece that I have, when I cut it, it's going to be very, very close to the edge of the cabinet, and that's why I have that piece of scrap wood, just showing how thick the plywood edge is going to extend, and where I should cut the LED mounting channel too. So again, there's a few bits and pieces here and there that kind of delay the process, but you get what it does. These pieces need to go together so that you can achieve the look that you want. So another thing I've learned about woodworking, building cabinets, anything, patience is required all the time. So I show you here a finished cabinet, and you can see they're quite big. This is 53 inches long, 23 inches deep of what you can see. Again, this came out really nicely. As you can see, the front face, I trimmed those out with walnut. I got solid walnut lumber, milled it down to 1/8 inch strips, and that's what I used with wood glue and some brad nails, and then just screw them onto the face frame. I wanted miter cuts on the corners, and you can see in the corners over there I have miter cuts at 45 degrees. And so again, another lesson in patience is make sure that your cabinets are square, and they are plumb, and your miters will work correctly. So I was very proud of this one. I think this is the first one I made, and it turned out really good. Again, in terms of construction, in order to avoid your cabinets racking and also maintaining their square, I braced the top, the middle, and the bottom of each cabinet with this. I use my scrap pieces of plywood, use pocket screws. They're perfect for this type of joinery. Just put them at the top, and that really holds it in place. And you can see my LED channel sticking out over there. Nice and happy about that. So those cabinets are not going anywhere. Again, that back brace also helps if you're going to attach your cabinets to the wall. A quarter inch piece of plywood is nothing when it comes to the structural integrity of the pinning of nailing something to the wall. So this back brace actually helps and acts as a perfect space to put in your screws that go into the studs behind your wall. That's something that I really like. And I braced them in the middle also, just in case the plywood wanted to bow out. Another brace in the middle would make it retain its square. And then when it's butted up against other cabinets, that helps too. But I found that these are some of the structural things I needed to do to keep my cabinets nice and square. First cabinet was in, the one I showed you before, and this was a test fit. Very, very excited at this point. I couldn't believe I actually built this monstrosity. Everything was lining up properly. As you can see, my top and bottom cabinets were all the same. There's a little variation in the cabinets, but you really cannot see it because when I measured the wall, I wanted to have the cabinets built in pieces because I didn't want anything bowing in the middle. So some of them are about between 23 and 22 inches wide is what you get, and that's ample space for being able to sort out colors and everything of clothing. So I made progress. I was at this rate, I think I was building 1.5 cabinets every day after work. So moving along at a steady clip. And then right there, I wanted to show you what the LED channels look like in the back, as you can see them. And again, you can see the miter joints of the walnut at the front. Now, I was going for a look that is more natural looking for the wood, and that's what the hard wax finish looks like when it's dry. The walnut will probably look take on a slightly deeper color once I do the hard wax on it, because I hadn't done anything at this point, and I believe that will be part of the final finishes I do on the face frames of all the cabinets when I'm finally done. This here is a corner piece, one of the corner pieces that were just so large. But as you can see, this is a construction of one of it. So the first one, I actually built that entire thing on the ground, and then we had to lift it up. And by we, I mean it was my husband, myself, trying to lift. I do not have upper body strength that is worth bragging about, and so we had to involve two little children. And so what this basically means, it was really just my husband lifting and the rest of us just pushing him along. And he told me after that if we have to do anything like that again, there has to be another man in the house. So at least get a friend, hire someone for help, because that was back-breaking work. So for the next piece, what I did, I built it in two phases. I built each piece and then joined it when it's already hoisted up 36 inches on top of the lower cabinet, and that kind of worked out better. Still strenuous, but that's what I did. And that's that piece over there. I did the piece towards the left on its own. That's the one you saw in the previous picture. And then I built the other piece. And then when we put both of them up there, I was able to use pocket screws at the top seam and the bottom seam, and you can't see them. And it worked out really well. Very happy with that. And that was the last corner piece, and I don't think I ever want to do anything like that again. Then again, I continued building from the corner pieces. The middle section got a larger cabinet with pull-out drawers, full extension drawers, just like the bottom one, matching. Again, for that one, I did the LED light. I did the cabinets 2 inches away from the LED lights, because I wanted the light to shine down as you look when the lights are on and the clothes are hanging in there. I think it would look very pretty. And you can see a close-up of that. I tried to put the hardware before I put the cabinets up. I just found that it's easier that way. It gives me a chance to be more precise, and it's also more comfortable when you can lean the cabinets to make it lay on its side and just put the hardware in. I haven't tried to use one of the jigs that put in glides, but maybe that's something I should do. And I'd also like to experiment with the Bloom undermount glides, because I think they're just more professional looking. They're hidden and they slide better than these ones. And then continued along the edge. I mean, like, this picture kind of gives you a slight appreciation for just how big this closet is. The sides are 113 inches, and the big wall in the middle is 178. So this is really big. It's a really massive task to undertake, and sometimes I wonder, like, I don't think I quite understood what I was doing when I was beginning this, but you know what, I'm glad I did. And then I started to do, once all the middle cabinets were done all around, then I started to do the upper cabinets. And the upper cabinets, they're about 15.5 inches tall, and they're really just going to hold pretty stuff. Nobody wants to climb up 9 feet to retrieve anything. And I put the LED lights towards the front because you cannot see them all the way in the back. And these are the first two when I had them done. And you can see I tried to match the same architecture again. So you can see the LED lights are at the front. As you can see the channels right there. I did the same miter cuts for walnut on the face frames, and you can see that right there. And then started to dry fit them. Now the cabinets are screwed onto each other. The bottom cabinets are screwed onto the wall and onto the platform at the bottom. You can see the platform sticking out from under there. And then the cabinets are joined to each other. Again, I used cabinet screws. The ones joining each other, they're joined by I think it's a 3-inch screw that I found. Works really well, nice and hidden. And then I did the same for the top cabinets as well. And also what I wanted to do was, see how I have my LED channels in exactly the same position every time? And the channel is routed through. So the reason for that was that I wanted to have my LED lights flow from one cabinet to another without cutting for as much as possible. And by aligning it that way, it made it very easy to thread the LED lights through. So I really like that a lot. Again, this is a really good view of, maybe I was at half, maybe three-quarter way completion with the cabinet build. As you can see, all the corners came in beautifully. For the really top part, the one thing that you'll see that is different is I eliminated that deep corner in the back. I wasn't going to do that. It was going to be ridiculous to even get up all the way there to retrieve something that's all the way in the back. So, but hiding the corner, honestly, I didn't lose any space, but I think it turned out good. With the light facing properly, I'll try and take more footage with better lighting. Is you can truly appreciate the, at least I do, at least I do, and I'm biased, but you can start to appreciate the miters on the edges of the face frame where the two, where four cabinets meet. You can see an X formed by the miter cuts on all the face frames from the walnut. So that makes me extremely happy. And again, you can see another glamour shot of, the cabinets over there. And these are my old lights in the closet right now. I intend to get rid of them. These are just the builder grade boob lights that came with the house, but I wanted to do something more modern, looking like track lighting, maybe, and that way I can focus on any part of the closet that I wanted, and maybe that's going to come later. I'll see how it goes. So right there is a nice shot of what it looks like inside, and you can see, even though my cabinets in the top are only 18 inches deep, I think that's deep enough space for someone when they're standing at ground level and you're looking up. You could never see beyond that if they were deeper than that. So I'm glad I chose to go with shallower cabinets for the ones at the top completely. And then that's another view of the middle cabinet after I installed all my drawers. These are just shallow pull-out drawers that will hold folded items. I just wanted to break up the space and make it just more interesting looking, and I hope it works. And again, that's another view of when I was making progress of building the top and the middle at the same time. And then I have a short clip what I did that shows you the completion. This is the day I put up the last cabinet at the top, and it was such a high, because quite literally a high, because I was up in the on a ladder, but I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this thing is finally done. Like, I am finally done with the big construction part. So super proud of myself for having achieved this. Again, very humbled, and sometimes I wonder, like, what was I thinking getting even started with such a project. But again, it pushed my design edge, it pushed my precision, taught me new skills. And you can see right there, you can see exactly where the linen closet is. So that's the entire closet. So now that I've shared the closet build progress so far, I'm really excited because it's almost coming to an end. So super proud of that achievement. In the next video, I'm going to focus on the other parts of the closet build, not the major construction. What you've seen so far has been the cabinet build and installation and everything. But there's a lot of work that went through in putting the closet together to make it be functional. For example, I'll be focusing on the floors. It's definitely going to be carpet. Like I've said before, I kind of toyed around with either having hardwood floors or carpet, but I think there's a lot of hard stuff in that closet, like in wood and metal and everything. So I wanted to soften it a little, and I think carpet also feels better to walk on. So it's definitely going to be carpet. I'm going to have someone come in and take measurements, and let's get that installation started. One of the things I've done a lot in this closet is trying to be as organized as possible so I can take advantage of the space. So I have done a lot of drawer management, just managing the storage within the drawers and making sure that they can accommodate as much as possible and also be organized. So I'll cover that in that video. I'll share with you what I did about the LED lighting and how I managed to hide the wires. So really wire management for that. And the other thing that I did was building shelving around all over the place just to break up the space. I'll add interesting elements. Also, I'll be talking about putting in hardware for hanging clothes. I'm currently working on drawer fronts for all the 16 or so drawers that I have in that entire closet. So I'll talk about that installation. And also, don't forget in the linen closet, I had several drawers that needed to be taken care of. So I talk about that as well. And pretty soon, I think we'll be ready to move into this closet. So I'm very excited about that. So look up for the next video as soon as I post it. Um, really grateful for your audience so far. And I look forward to wrapping this up. So I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.